21-year-old male who makes a habit of taking road trips across the United States, I'm not one who is inexperienced when it comes to hiking or dangerous situations. I've had people stalk my camp in Kansas and stare over my fire in Utah with a shotgun. Point being, I've had weird experiences, but none that have ever chilled me like this one. This just happened earlier today, and I want to get it out while the image is still sharp in my mind. I was out hiking a trail in southern Indiana with a female friend of mine. It was around 90 degrees and muggy as all get out. The trail specifically is the Three Lakes Trail, and it's a little over 10 miles long, and is circular, so nearly impossible to get lost. We had arrived early in the morning, so there was almost no one in the park at all, save for a few parked vehicles. We had been hiking the trail for about 3 hours and not seen a soul. Usually I pay attention to my surroundings, and a bit more. I'm always cautious of people just because of life experiences, and this sub, but with good conversation and laughs I was distracted. My friend and I were walking downhill towards a sharp left turn, when seemingly out of nowhere, a woman steps around the bend and starts hiking up the hill towards us, with her head down. She was average height but much more muscular than a typical woman. She was wearing a sports bra, short shorts and a backpack which left most of her body exposed. Her tattoos are what first caught my eye. All across her body are these weird shapes and symbols that didn't make any sense. I didn't see anything that resembled a picture or English words. As she came within about 10 feet of us, she looked up and we made eye contact. This is when everything in me just froze up. Her face had similar symbols tattooed all over it, and strings all over her face. Her eyes, though, are what I'll remember for a very long time. They were just black sockets, and in the shade of the dense canopy, I couldn't make out anything about what it actually was. With how humid it was that day, I don't believe that the dark sockets were makeup, and so I assumed that all around her eyes were tattooed solid black. On top of this, she must have had colored contacts in her eyes, as there was no white at all, with every horror and cult scenario I've ever heard running through my mind, and her face chilling me to the soul. I blurt out, "Good day for a hike." She just looks at me with this empty stare, holds eye contact, and walks by us. I've never been so shaken up from running into someone out on a trail before, and hope to never see something like that again. One night, me and my cousin were driving around aimlessly, since we had nothing better to do. We decided to drive to a small shopping center a few towns over, since they had a 24-hour McDonald's. It was around 1 a.m. on a Tuesday, so there were almost no other drivers or people in the area. The McDonald's was on the opposite side of where you enter the parking lot from. As I passed the corner drugstore, a very tall and slender man comes out of nowhere, and I had to slam my brakes on to avoid hitting him. He seems unfazed by this, and gives us a very creepy smile. Points right at us for some reason. What a jackass, I say to my cousin at this point. We were more irritated than scared. As we were driving by, this old creep then puts a bottle that was in a brown paper bag next to his crotch and swings it around and starts doing this jerking off motion. Then with his other hand he points at my younger female cousin, then gestures towards the other end of the parking lot. At this point we were half laughing and half screaming out of disgust as I continue on my way to McDonald's. What the fuck just happened? My cousin laughs. We were both creeped out and just wanted to go back home. At this point we realized the McDonald's was closed, so I parked off to the side as a few cars were coming over my way. I hear my cousin say, "Oh my God, I think it's that guy." And I look up and see the old man walking very, very quickly in our direction. I freeze in fear for just a second, then start trying to put the car in drive, but also trying not to take my eyes off this very creepy old man, nearly running at full speed. He was literally a foot or two from my side mirror when I finally got my car into drive, sped off as fast as I could. I don't think it was until later when it really sunk in how terrifying that whole ordeal was, and how badly it could have ended up for us. So creepy old guy that looked like Peter fucking Scully, let's not meet again. I moved to an island on Lake Michigan for the summer. It's a touristy area. You can make decent money in the summer. My aunt owns a bar and grill and a motel, so I figured why not. I just went through a breakup after a 6-year relationship and have been battling issues with depression and anxiety for over a year now, so I figured this would be a nice change of scenery. I'm staying with my older cousin at a cabin her mom owns. Approximately 1.5 miles from where we both work. We're both women. This island is basically nothing but woods and forest. It's very beautiful, but it's very remote. Most of the roads are unpaved. There's only streetlights on the main road. At night, it's pitch black. Our cabin is smack dab in the middle of the woods. I don't have a car with me on the island. I bike wherever I want or need to go. One night I worked the closing shift as a server at my aunt's restaurant. I finished closing up the restaurant and said goodbye to my aunt's partner, who was still in the kitchen. I left work through the side door of the kitchen and started biking down the main road. On my route to and from work, I pass a bar where the locals like to hang out. Some tourists go there too, of course, as they go everywhere. But that bar is like Cheers to the islanders. Keep in mind this is the only paved road on the entire island, and the only road with streetlights. It was pitch black outside. I only had a little bike headlight to guide me once I got off the main road. Anyway, I'm riding past the local hangout bar, like I always do, when some guy outside the bar says hi to me. This isn't uncommon. It's a small island, and people say hi to everyone around here. I smile and say hi back without really looking at the man. I'm still in polite server mode. I'm a little further down the road when this truck comes up behind me on the road. I'm riding on the right shoulder of the road. There's a bike path there, and instead of going around me, the truck stays behind me. But we were coming up to an intersection, so I figured that was the reason. We get to the intersection, and I turn left, leading me onto an unpaved gravel road in the pitch darkness. The truck turns behind me and continues following me. I figure, okay, there's some houses on this road. Maybe this is where he stays. We pass all the houses on that road with him still on my trail. Now we're in the deep woods. And as we continue into the deep roads, he starts following closer behind me until I can feel the heat of his truck on my back. I get to a curve in the road. After the curve leads to the road to my cabin. I don't want to go down that road because my road is a dead end, with my cabin being the dead end, and I don't want this truck person to know where I'm living. So instead of going around the curve, I lean to the side and let myself fall off my bike and into the ditch in the woods. Luckily, the truck keeps going around the curve. I sigh with relief and think I'm safe. I lay in the ditch for a few more minutes, trying to get my heart rate back to normal. Then I see headlights coming. The same headlights that had been following me. My bike is still lying on the side of the road. The driver knows I'm still here. They stop next to my bike at the curve. A guy leans out the window and shouts, "Next time you'll look at me when I say hi to you, you fucking bitch." He then speeds off down the road, spraying gravel everywhere. I'm crying at this point and just lay in the ditch quietly, sobbing. Finally, after a good amount of time without his crazy guy returning, I get back on my bike and head home. I'm so thankful all he did was yell at me and didn't get out of his car and come after me. Random guy from the bar. Let's not meet. This happened around 15 years ago, and to this day, whenever I think about what happened, a cold shiver runs down my spine. Myself, my cousins, and my brother are so damn lucky. My parents own a timeshare in Laguna Beach, and it's a good 5 to 6 hour drive from where I live. My cousin and her boyfriend at the time were visiting from Philly, and they, along with my aunt and grandma, were accompanying my family, mom, dad, and brother, to California. Now, my parents, my auntie, grandma are in one car, and they had gotten a bit of a head start as my dad's anal about leaving right on time. However, us kids, I was 25 and the oldest, so not really a kid, but you get the point. We're about an hour behind them due to my brother being a slowpoke. Anyway, my cousin's boyfriend is driving, and my brother was in the passenger seat. My cousin and I are behind them chit-chatting. It's around 4 p.m. and we're somewhere outside Nipton, California. Now, for those of you who have gone through Nipton before, they know the place is creepy as fuck. There's a general store with an outhouse bathroom, and I believe a restaurant. Anyway, we're maybe 10 minutes from Nipton when we see a car pulled off into the desert. We drive by and my brother goes, "There's a guy laying in the desert." We go back and forth about calling 911, when we realize none of us have any bars. This is before smartphones blew up. I was able to get service if I held my phone slightly. We figured we'd turn back just to assess the situation. We turn back and my brother and cousin's boyfriend get out, start hollering at the guy asking if he's all right. No answer. And just as they decide to step closer to see if the guy's dead, my cousin and I spot two people hiding behind the car's trunk. We scream for my brother and her boyfriend, and I think they've heard rustling, so they sprint back and pile in the car. Meanwhile, the guy who was supposedly injured sits up and two scary-looking men pop up. My cousin's boyfriend takes off as we're all freaking out. Meanwhile, I have bars and I call 911 to report what happened. We pull into Nipton while I talk to a dispatcher, who takes my info, and she says she'll send someone out there. We decide fuck stopping, we just want to keep going. I'd like to say that's the end of the story and we made our way to the beach, but no, it's not. Because we continue on to Baker and decide we're safe enough to pull into the Mad Greek for a bathroom break and some strawberry shakes and gyros. We're waiting for our order when my cousin's boyfriend comes over to the table, looking like he saw a ghost. He points outside across from the Mad Greek, at the little trading post there. We had parked our car. Guess who pulls up and 3 cars down? Yeah, if you guessed the 3 rough-looking men, you'd be right. They get out and look around and walk into the post. Meanwhile, we are getting our food to go and devising a way to get the fuck out of town without dying. However, fate was on our side that day, because those 3 came out of the store carrying beer. Thank God for the RV that was sandwiched in between our SUV and their car. They got into their car and pulled out and sped off like madmen. We took that as our cue and a sign from the man upstairs to get the F out of there. We ran out for our car, got in. We didn't stop again until we reached Laguna. I never heard back from anyone regarding my call to the police. We never told my parents or my aunt or grandma. To this day, we all regard it as the scariest thing that ever happened to any of us. And I refuse to take the Nipton cut off route, even if it is a shortcut.